What's going on, GBA type people? It's your boy Jar and Aster back with Week 8. I got it right this time. Week 8 power rankings, and we have a lot to talk about, but we do want to make this one a little bit shorter, so how about we hop right into it?
Yeah, absolutely. You also did Tom's intro again, just saying. Tom, let us know in the comments. Anyway, we got, no surprise, Tup in at number 16. The first thing I want to say to Tup is I do not want you to feel like a failure, Tup. I know it's annoying being at the bottom every week. You look at the Titan that you face this week, though, and look what would have happened if you had kept your Hydreigon alive. Just once this season, man. I really wish you would keep it alive. I really think that you could have actually beat MV. The Blissey set was cool, even though I don't think you needed Serene Grace on that set, actually, and Natural Cure may have saved you a little bit. I didn't like Tangrowth. I'm going to be honest with you. I know why you brought it, but I feel like something like Cryogonal might have actually been better to synergize with your offense. It gets Freeze Dry for MV's Rain Setter, one of his abusers. With a Scarf, it can outspeed even Scarfed Lando, deal with Dragonite well. Just feel like you're always just one mon off from the right team or one play away from winning every single week. And it's really a very slight adjustment, and I really hope it gets done from here to the end of the season. I know we've only got 4 weeks left, but I would really like to see that.
So, like you said, yes, Tup dropped this week to MV, who has been extremely hot. And, I mean, Tup, he has shown some creativity that leads me to believe he can pick up a win this season. But right now, he just seems, to be struggling. I don't know if it's maybe the team doesn't fit his style as much. I know he was very good with the kind of hyper offense he had last season. But his prep this week, I really did like that Blissey set. That was kind of creative and definitely put in quite a bit of work versus MV. And it was really, really smart. I don't like Bandage Staraptor, personally. I feel like that gets worn down way too easily, and MV, besides the crest, doesn't have any, real walls. I think Silk Scarf might have been better, maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, like you said, the Blissey was pressuring MV a lot, and I personally know from experience Hydreigon is kind of a tough mon to keep alive, so it is a little understandable, but yeah, it would have been very helpful. Blissey getting Toxic was a big deal, but then clicking Quick Attack with the Banded Raptor kind of defeats the purpose of Banded Raptor when you're not breaking through the walls like the Cresselia, like you could have 2-hit KO'd it with a Double Edge or a Brave Bird. But I mean, this just came down to Tup's team having nothing for D-Knight once the Shuka on the Steelix was gone, so that was able to just clean up late game. We've kind of talked about Tup's for 8 weeks now, and I really hope he can turn it around, but for now I think that's all I have to say about him. So I think we can stroll right into number 15, which is Steve in Battler X, the franchise of the Milwaukee Sawsbucks, and he comes in at 15. He played another giant in the league this week, Chimpact, and I don't know what kind of disappearing magic he was using, but his friends Jerry the King Lawler and Michael King were able to fill in for him, so that was very, very nice of them. Now, I understand Chimp has some passive things, but those passive things are, really, really slow, so you have to bring priority on that freaking Hariyama set. It was unbelievable to me he didn't have BP, especially when he has things like the Curum, and there's no guarantee you're getting your Belly Drum up under Trick Room. Since Chimp's team's mons are frail and slow, you could have swept his team on its own with that Hariyama set without the Trick Room, and I think he's just kind of getting caught up in bringing a Trick Room gimmick more than actually prepping out the game. I didn't like Special Como versus a team with as many walls that Chimp has, specifically things like the Alomomola. Can eat that thing's hits for days. But his prep this week was pretty straightforward besides the Trick Room gimmick, which hasn't really worked out for him so far. The game was also pretty straightforward, and it seemed like Steve was just having trouble breaking through Chimp's team, and Chimp, as we have seen, even when he only brings 2 or 3 offensive mon, he has no problem breaking through his opponent's team because all of his mons just hit so hard, and he was just able to control the game, played the Trick Room well at the end, and was able to come up with another win, and Steve will drop. But yeah, I just think overall focusing too much on gimmicks might be costing him at this point.
Yeah, Steve, I'm sorry to say this, but son of a bitch. I don't know how many times I heard that during the battle. Again, your side of the video is always so entertaining to watch, man. But just so you know, your team is not a Trick Room team, okay? It doesn't function fully under Trick Room, and when you bring nothing that is immune to T-Spikes, you're gonna get whittled fast. That's exactly what happened. And I think you could have brought a much better team against Chimp. Mimikyu could have put in so much work if it was just straight max speed for the Kyurem rather than the only functioning under Trick Room. Swords Dance, Shadow Claw, Play Rough, Will-O-Wisp. Why not? Let's say that set. I don't know what to say, man. You just got beat by a better team. It seems to have been the story of the season because your team is not that great, but I think you're just you're focusing too much on Trick Room and the gimmicks, and it's cool because like you're probably not making playoffs regardless. I don't think there is a chance for you to make playoffs, and you just want to have some fun now, but we still want to see some wins come out of the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. It would be really cool to see from here to the end of the season, just like with Tup, so try to make that happen.
Damn, Aster, why are you so savage so early?
Look, I just woke up, okay?
All
anyway,
right.
Moving on to number 14, we do have a drop here in Callum. Callum was 13th, I believe, last week, and we dropped him to 14th. And, you know, you can all see that we dropped him down one spot, but honestly, I have to say, Callum, you played very well, mate. Up until the point where you didn't Flare Blitz the Venusaur and decided to predict the Keldeo coming in, which in itself wasn't a terrible play. I thought it was going to work when I saw Duncan switch, but you have to know that Flare Blitz to an uninvested Keldeo does 42 to 50%, Callum. He switches that in once, and he can no longer switch it in on Embor's Blitz. And when you put that kind of pressure on a team like you were doing so well at the beginning of the game, you force them to have to make plays, which is a trap like I feel you fell into once your Crobat got Pursuit Trapped. That's something you learn while playing League format, though, is that Weavile is very likely to Pursuit Trap Pokemon that it scares out. It's not the first time we've seen it, and it won't be the last. I'll reiterate, though. I still think you played very, very well. And I can tell you believe that as well as by your commentary at the beginning of the game, and even at the end, you said you felt like you had a very good game, and I think that you did. You fall to 14th this season. It doesn't matter. You're just getting your footing in League format, and I'm sure there are great things still to come from you, and I'm excited to see that.
I want to agree with almost everything you said. It's weird to have Callum at 14 because I don't feel like he's having a particularly bad season. I just think the middle of the GBA from like 14 to 8 is so similar that a guy like Callum is down at 14, and he played and prepped a really good game like you said. I have a theory though. I think that he got on tilt a little bit after his Crobat got Pursuit Trapped because, like he said, it was a very, very key member of his team, and losing a key member of your team to something that you could have made a play on is always going to make the player frustrated. He was having a great game. He seemed to have the upper hand in the first half of the battle. I want to give him a compliment there. But after the pursuit happened by the Weavile, he was trying to overcompensate with plays like the Embor Wild Charging when he still had Fodder and Landorus. I agree that just Flare Blitz is the play Keldeo does not want to take that at all. But I don't think he necessarily played the endgame that bad. I just think that he was overthinking himself and getting into his own head after the pursuit trap, and that was just kind of my perception of the situation. Callum, I don't know if you know this because you have done a few things like just thinking a Crest can U-turn, but T-Tar is immune to Mirror Coat. I'm not saying that to like patronize you, I'm just saying it because it's good information to have for the future. I know it is risky on an Araquanid, but just a note. I really did like him this week, though. Prep and play. If Crobat is important for your team, this is my one recommendation for Callum for this video. Definitely run Defog for future reference, because if it's important for you, people are going to want to get rocks up because it means it is good against them. So getting those rocks off your side of the field, keeping Crobat healthy is going to be very key. Then I would definitely run Defog. But overall, Callum's prep and play, very, very good this week. I do not have too much to critique them on, and I do think he can definitely move up, and I'm glad to hear him say he's just going to do things like having fun towards the end of this season. That is going to give me a lot of encouragement. So we get to move on to a person I have actually a little bit higher than you. I have Geo at 12. You, I believe, have him at 13, so I'll get to talk about Geo first. So the reason I have Geo a little bit higher was because he very, very much impressed me this week, and his record is definitely getting up there. He's definitely been doing better these past few weeks than he was at the beginning of the season. The first note I have is, why did you bring Life Orb again? I'm just kidding. It's fine, but the Choice Banded Arcanine was great bring versus Gator. I don't even know if I would have brought that versus Gator, but looking at his team he brought, and if Geo predicted him to bring those 6 months, it put in a crap ton of work. The reason it's a risky bring versus a team like Gator is he does have almost everything to take one of the Arcanine's moves. Things like Heatran to take the fire move, Pyukumuku to also take the fire move, and then basically Doublade can take either of the rest of its moves. But he really was great with that set. Conk was a very solid bring. It definitely destroyed his team. I think lefties over E-Belt because I don't think E-Belt was ensuring any KOs or Okos, and lefties on a Pokemon would have been nice. The Finny was good, but I don't know how good it was going to be when it can't touch a Ferrothorn, which is the original bring. But, I mean, Geo is the best I have ever seen at using Ditto. I will give him that. And once he got damage on that Pyukumuku, Gator was just in so much trouble switching into Arcanine. You could see he's just like, I don't have anything for this Arcanine. It was a big problem for him. You saw it here first, a Life Orb killing another Mon on their own team. I honestly don't understand with people who say Life Orb is still one of the best items in League format. It's a great item, but like, here's the problem. In League format, a lot more things are going to have recovery, and they can roost stall you and kill yourself. Not only that, you're either in League format, so your stabs are hard to switch into is why you're bringing it offensively, and you can run just like a plate or something, or it's just the fact that you have very good coverage for your opponent's team, in which case E-Belt is the best item. I don't find myself bringing Life Orb basically ever anymore, but I mean, if people want to run it, people want to run it. It killed another Mon this week, but, you know, I'm going to let Geo do his thing. He really impressed me this week.
You know, just to clarify on Life Orb a little bit, unless it's absolutely getting you a 2-hit KO that you need somewhere, then it's not necessary. As Jar said, there are alternatives to running Life Orb, but we won't go too much into detail. I think that Geo, I actually don't have any notes on Geo, but I did watch this game in depth from Geo's perspective. What a game. Honestly, Geo played so well, and I'm really impressed, and it might not show on my side of the power rankings because I only moved him up to 13th, but I'll get to that when we start talking about Dan, because there's a very important reason. They're kind of interchangeable, both of them, but Geo just did an amazing job. The switch into his Ditto on the Sky attack was brilliant to burn the item. Goes back into Arcanine, doesn't even realize that he can take the acrobatics or even the high jump kick from the range that he's at, and Arcanine ends up getting the final kill instead of Conkeldurr. He was banking on the fact that Gator needed a crit to knock out the Conkeldurr, but the Conkeldurr never even hit the field. Geo just played this game so perfectly, scouted the Heatran set beautifully, even though he didn't realize it was specs until after the game, which was kind of funny. He forced Gator to switch it out after the first 2 turns, going for repeated flash cannons, weakening him. Gator had locked himself into Eruption, so the problem was, even if Gator stayed in trying to wear down the 5 PP from the Scarf Ditto, the Eruption was going to be so weakened that Finny could just very easily switch in afterwards. So I didn't even watch Gator's side, but I know that's what he was thinking. There were just so many good moments from Geo this game, and I was honestly impressed, guys. Don't take it to heart that you guys see him at 13th on my side of the power rankings. Geo, you did an amazing job, dude. Good job. I really want to see more of that from here to the end of the season, and you still have a very good chance to make playoffs. I would love to see you make playoffs, man. You're 4-4. Keep it up. Again, like I said, guys, don't mind the 13th place. This is really just kind of recoil from the last few weeks, the fact that he's down here. But no, he did a really good job, and I'm very impressed. Now let's get into who I have at number 12 and you have at number 13, and we have A-Drive, Dan. And the reason that I have Dan a little bit higher than Geo is because that there is a very crucial turn in this game about the Stone Edge not hitting. So some may argue that missing a Stone Edge is more likely to happen than hitting 7 in a row, but let's not talk about things of the past. Look, Dan, if you didn't want to miss, you could have just run Rock Slide.
He did.
Oh wait, you did, yeah. And you brought in Terrakion and said, and I quote, "I have to click Rock Slide here." And then all of a sudden, you changed your mind and decided you needed to 2-hit KO the Crocodile, even though there was little to no chance that Crimson was switching out of Tornadus. He had no idea you were Scarfed yet, that's first. And not to mention you didn't calc Rock Slide to Crocodile, because if you had, you would have known that it does 22% minimum to Crocodile. And Crook was below half before Rocks and Poison damage. So in hindsight, it's all good because Rock Slide could have still missed, and all of this is null. But I think the big turn this game is when Dan got caught off guard by V-Create's Smeargle.
Oh, that was so nice.
Yeah, that was amazing, and we're going to talk more about it when we get to Crimson, but he does have to drop down to number 12 for me this week. But again, I didn't drop him as hard. I didn't want to put him in 13th because there was that Stone Edge miss, and Dan could have sealed that game at the end because nor the Crook nor the Kyurem were Scarfed in the end game, so he could have switched out his Terrakion, brought it back in, and started close combating once the Tornadus went down. So definitely a very crucial turn, but things like that happen, and he still has to drop in my books.
Yeah, so I have him at 13. I'm going to kind of one-up you a little bit. I think 13 through 11 are basically interchangeable at this point. We've seen good moments from all of them this season, and we've seen their, not so good moments. One of them had a very not good moment this week, actually. We'll get to that later. But I have Dan a little lower because I just kind of like how the other two have been winning and prepping and the opponents they've beaten so far this season. When I saw E-Belt Victini over Life Orb, though, that shit was absolute flames. It was simple enough. I liked the Clefable. That was a very, very good Clefable set by Dan. Unaware with HP Rock, that was very, very smart. Helps, because I believe he's not aware of the Spadef boost while Corona gets either. So he was completely able to shut that thing down with that set. So that was amazing bring by him. I don't agree with the dual rock Terrakion, because I honestly just think, here's my point of view, run Stone Edge, and if you miss, you can just blame your loss on hacks. That's how I do it. It works very well. Rip that Zap Cannon miss I've had at one point. That's completely hacks, the reason I lost the battle. But I think that Dan definitely, should have clicked Rock Slide since he had it. But like I said, I just don't see the point of running dual coverage when you could have run something like Swords Dance because you weren't hitting Slowbro hard enough or something like that.
Well, he was starved.
Yeah, you're right. But like X-Scissor in case you don't want to miss the Stone Edge later in the game or something like that. It's just, I don't see the point in dual rock coverage personally. His prep though, very, very solid. Dan, don't worry about the Scizor play. There's nobody, I guarantee you, on this goddamn planet who would have seen V-Create Smeargle coming. I want to give Crimson a little props for that later. The irony of running V-Create when he could have run any fire move.
Yeah.
So that was hilarious. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was beautiful irony. But overall, I just feel like Dan played extremely well. Got caught off a bit off guard by some of Crimson's sets, because Crimson is a very innovative guy. But the Stone Edge miss was extremely unfortunate, although, like you said, Rock Slide was a play he could have made there. No, I think you're right that Dan would have won, and he would have definitely at least been in a better position if he had hit it. But, Dan, I know how it feels when it feels like it comes down to hacks every week. The Water Shurikens, the Stone Edge, and now you caught a little bit of it this week. That's the game we play. It's trust me, everyone's been on the receiving end of some of it, and this week, unfortunately, it was you. So I had to drop you a little bit, but like I said, 13 through 11 are interchangeable. But speaking
I do, sorry to cut you off, but I do want to say
you ruined my perfect transition.
I know, I'm sorry, but I do want to say one last thing about Dan that I didn't have in my notes, and that was about the Victini. I just want to mention that there was another possible set that he could have brought. Still E-Belt, but I think Flame Charge would have won him the game. I'm pretty convinced, because he would have gotten back his speed, and he would have done a lot of damage to Crimson's team. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're that afraid of webs and you're not sure if you can get rid of them, just run Flame Charge Victini if it does that much work to your opponent. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, thank you for fucking up my transition earlier. Now I'm a little triggered, and I'm on tilt. But at number 11, I have Tom, and this are we disagreeing on this one? I don't know.
We are the 11.
Okay, and we actually might be a little bit on the receiving end of some of our own criticism.
Yeah.
We actually did help Tom prep this week a little bit, so this doesn't reflect on us well, but I think the biggest thing for Tom's team when I look back at this game and the matchup, he has nothing for bulky psychic types on his team. Look at his team. No big, strong bug hitters, no big, strong dark hitters. That is a huge problem in League format because psychic types are so prevalent. Honestly, I have too much of an ego to tear myself down too much, but I think the prep was actually pretty solid. I will stand by that. I think the prep was very good. The Rachi set was obviously brilliant by Mono. That was the perfect set to bring. I think there was something he could have done to play around it that I think maybe, I don't know, I can't say if I would have done because it's obviously easier to say hindsight 2020. The Rachi was under-prepped, however, I think the play is hardened to Celesteela every time because even if he might click an electric move, I'm pretty sure he's probably not 2-KOing you without any boost since he was a bulkier set. And you have the Citrus Berry, so you can always take 3 at that point and get 2 EQs off and weaken it or force it out with the Celesteela. I don't know, hindsight 2020 obviously, but I do think that Tom is getting into the mindset of kind of how he needs to be. He needs to start winning games if he wants to make playoffs, and you can't let him get down because you lost to one of the best battlers in the league. And I do think going into P2 was way too passive a play against a potentially Calm Mind Rachi, and I think that was definitely the turning point. And I'll just end it with get good, kid, and move on.
Yeah, definitely some of the blame on us in terms of prep, not seeing the Calm Mind Jirachi. I guess Tom just forgot to prep for CM Jirachi, man. That's all on him.
That guy, man. What is he up to?
I'm not sure if Protect was a must on Vaporeon. I didn't mention that when we were helping him prep, but I think Roar would have definitely helped prevent that sweep. Mono's team was so weak to hit Monley, dude. If that Jirachi wouldn't have been given a chance to set up, I really think that Tom would have had it, even though you look at the scoreline and it looks like he got dominated. Despite that, Tom having a worse record than a few of the teams behind him, we still both believe in Tom's team, and keep in mind that he just went through a very rough patch of players in the last 3 weeks. So we expect to see greatness from here till the end of the season, especially with some of the matchups that he has. So not too bad, honestly. I mean, even though it was a 6-0, it's purely because of the Rachi, because other than that, if you would have seen the rest of Tom's team in action, I think you would have been very much impressed. So that pretty much ends it off for Tom.
Is your ego good? Mine's good. Your ego
yeah,
okay?
Mine's fine.
Okay,
don't even worry about it.
Moving on
to number 10, we both have Lars and the Borussia Dortmund in number 10. We actually both moved them up 2 spots. Now, about Lars this game, I just want to say that Lars put himself in a position to lose, man. He let his Rotom get way too low, let his Latias drop when those two were the only Infernape answers, but he won due to the timer, which we will still acknowledge as a fair win. But man, if that thing wasn't there, our rankings would look very different this week. I also have to ask, where was Crawdon? Like, I get John has a Tapu Bulu, but look at Swords Dance or D-Dance Crawdon and look at John's team. Like, just bring Chople Crawdon, bait in the Infernape super hard. Like, that's the only critique I have on the prep, really, is like, where's Crawdon? Because I didn't look too hard into it. Everything else seemed good, but it really sucks that it has to be yet another game, yet another week where we have something come down to the timer, and it was actually in the player that lost's favor. So we'll get into more of that when we talk about John, but I'll let you talk about Lars for a bit.
GBA coaches, what are you doing? I mean, it's not about the having timer wins. I'm fine with timer wins and timer stalling at the end. But, like, don't abuse it or it's going to get taken away. How many timer stall wins have we had this season? It's got to be over 5 at this point.
I think it's about 5, yeah.
Yeah, we're barely halfway through the season. I mean, you can have it as an option, but I mean, it seems to be the option for some teams, and it's a strategy. I'll give it to you, but you're gonna get it taken away real quick if you keep abusing it like this. But Lars, you know, I understand. GBA matches are important, especially to win, especially for a team like Lars, who's very, very on the cuff of playoffs. So I understand why he did it. I'm just saying that you're gonna get it taken away pretty quickly if you do, you keep doing that. I do have a few problems with this prep that are not just Where's Crawdon, although I did have Where's Crawdon on there, similar. Defensive Magearna was smart, but with no Wish support, I don't know why you didn't run Pain Split, especially since John has some very high base HP mons, like the Milotic, like the Goodra is both above the HP of Magearna by far, because Magearna's got relatively low base HP. That's why it's such a good defensive mon with Pain Split, and just its gigantic amount of defense. The Lucario was genius. I still have nightmares of having my Hippowdon 2-hit KO'd by a banded close combat that I did not see coming. And it was brutal, man. I don't know why Blaze Kick was necessary. I just think dual priority might have been better for things like the Bulu, because Bulu was not coming in, and I believe that close combat hits harder than anything Blaze hit 2 times effectively. And you maybe didn't want the stat drops, but I don't know. I just think that the dual priority might have been better for you. But Lars did a very solid job this game for the most part, but like you said, it was the fact that he let his 2 Infernape answers get weakened on a team that was so weak to Infernape to begin with. Infernape absolutely, I know you've fallen in love with this mon, basically. It just tears teams apart with its coverage and with its ability to just spam high base power moves. I mean, Talonflame isn't a wall break, it's got 81 base attack. Infernape's got 108, so it can spam the same base power moves. It is a threat to every team. But he actually did a good job breaking down John's team since he brought a bulkier one with the Volt turn and the Banded Lucario early. I do want to give him some props for that, but I just think that, Lars, you did what you had to do to win this week, but you said it yourself, it wasn't a clean win, and I wouldn't abuse this anymore, GBA coaches, or I guarantee you there is a rule going to be put in place next season to stop y'all from doing this.
Yeah, we had the same thing with Swagger last season. Like, Cooper brought it one too many times, pissed off just one person, and there you go. It's now gone. So that's just an example for you guys. Try not to let it go down to timer. Try to get some fair wins if you can.
Yeah, but we will still acknowledge them here as wins, as we see. Yeah. We did move Lars up 2 spots because he did win within the rules, so we give that to him. But I think That allows us to move clean into Duncan. And Duncan. Look at this guy. He was chilling at like 14, 13 for a while. Now he's up at 9. I mean, like we said, if you can get momentum and pick up wins, you will move up in the rankings. And if he continues to do so, we will continue to move him up in the rankings. He's on a good streak. I think, is he 3-0 in his last 3 games or close to that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and he was really good this week as well. Again, he doesn't show his whole sets, so it's kind of hard for me to critique his prep, kind of like I like to do. The Arachnid was an interesting bring without a doubt. I don't know how it looked at Team Preview, but it definitely looked pretty good at Team Matchup. Now, I don't want to say Mandibuzz is the reason Duncan is winning, but there might be some correlation between him bringing it and him 3-0 in his last few weeks. It might be correlation, it might not be causation, but who knows? It's because of the Mandibuzz. But Duncan's play, very good this week. The pursuit on the Weavile was a very, very strong play. That play took some guts to make, and it really paid off for him because Crobat was being a pain in his ass the whole game. He went down early, but he made the plays he needed to at the end. He sacked the right mons at the right time, and I think he did get a little fortunate. Callum was did go on tilt a little bit, I think, but Duncan played very well, and if he can continue to do this going forward, he will move up. I just want to see him beat some higher teams. I think a few of his wins are against, or most of his wins are against the lower teams, and this has kind of been a theme in Power Rankings. Beat the top guys, and we'll move you guys up a lot more because it's hard for us to move you guys up when the top teams aren't losing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I just want to comment on the Weavile play a little bit. I actually don't have too many notes on Duncan. The Weavile play, knowing that the Crobat is more than likely defensive from what you've seen from it, and that it's not rocking any attack investment, Pursuit was actually a perfectly safe play because nor Brave Bird nor U-Turn knock out Weavile from where it was. So if the biggest pain to him was the Crobat, as we saw, because Weavile, I don't believe, ever hit the field again after, then pursuing right there is always the correct play. Always. Because it gets off enough damage on the Crobat to where Ice Shard will still kill, or Icicle Crash. I don't know which one he had because, again, I don't have too many notes on Duncan. But
he doesn't show his whole sets anyway. I would
exactly.
Scroll through the battle and look at his individual play with the Weavile, but, you know.
Yeah, so but I still think that Pursuit was always the play there. Going into Lando, even though it wasn't intended as a way to block Wild Charge, it worked out beautifully for him, and he ended up getting, I think, 2 kills with the Landorus instead of just letting it go down. So
that's the Emboar switching. What are you talking about? That's the Emboar switching.
But that was a great middle ground play. But I think had that not panned out for Duncan, he might have lost. But he's still been doing very well over the last couple of weeks. I got to give it to him. He's definitely improving. He's finally getting some footholding in Draft League format a little bit quicker than Callum is. I know the two are very good friends. They should learn from each other because they both did very, very well this week, especially. So, no, good job, Duncan. Honestly, we don't have anything too horrible to say. I don't think we've ever had anything too horrible to say. The last thing I do want to say about the Mandibuzz that you did bring up, it gave him a lot of momentum in this game because of U-Turn, and I think that was the strong suit of Mandibuzz this game, is that it did give him a lot of momentum. It gave him the necessary Rocky Helmet hits, like on the Snorlax specifically, to be able to take it out later in the game easily. So definitely putting in work, and I'm glad to see him bring it now and learn how to use it properly. I love its nickname too. Still learning is beautiful.
I would just like to say, if I had to use one adjective to describe how he's using Mandibuzz, I think I go with leaning. That's a new one, but I think that's what I'd have to go with.
Yeah. All right.
Nice
well,
pivot,
anyway, moving on. In my number 6 actually, and your number 8. So you dropped Necro Stevo and the Utah Jasmine quite a bit this week. I didn't drop them as heavily, and the reason is Necro. I have to say that relying on status or phasing or anything that isn't offensive to deal with a setup mon that gets taunt is never a good idea. But George just completely ran through Stevo's team with Mew. Honestly, we can't sugarcoat it. He let too many of his mons get weakened by Mismagius. I feel like he's having trouble adapting to this team. I've seen him bring a lot of the same stuff every week, and it's starting to worry me. George is a really good player, and you have to think outside the box to beat him. If Stevo can't do that, he's going to have a hard time for the rest of the season, I feel. And I'm only dropping him down to number 6, and you guys don't see it on this slide yet, but I'm dropping him down here because I still feel like, again, George is a very good player, and maybe Necro doesn't deserve to be dropped that heavily. But, Jar, let me know why you dropped him so hard.
Alright, so that might, I understand why that can seem weird to some people, but this is power ranking, so I kind of wanted to look at this like, how afraid would I be to play Steve-O at this point? And what I had to look at was, I wanted to look at Cooper, back to Cooper. Cooper left Steve-O with a 3-1 team, and that is now 5-3, so he's about 500 since coming into the league. And I also had noticed that, well, again, what you said, a lot of his sets have been similar. A lot of the mons he's bringing have been similar. He has brought the Swallow like Cooper has, and that has been working out for him, but bringing very similar sets with his walls, bringing the same mons over and over again. I understand Zapdos coming every game. Zapdos is the best electric type in League format, in my opinion, but I understand that one coming, but a lot of mons, the Breloom, the Klefki, the Hippowdon, all coming almost every single game. And, you know, it's coming to, I want to see Steve-O take out some top players or get on a win streak where I can definitively move him, not Cooper and him, into the top half of the league. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the reason this is power rankings. And when I look at Steve-O, I see a team. When I looked at him this week, I kind of took a step back and I looked and I saw a team that's been 2-2, that just got swept by one of the better players in the league pretty heavily, and a team that has been lacking a little bit of creativity to this point. So he can definitely do it. I have seen a lot of potential in him. I just want to see him do it before I move him back up. So I think that gives us a clean transition to agreeing a little bit more than the big drop. You have him at number 8. I have him at number 7. Crimson Seabad. Crimson, I moved him up a lot this week because he did get the hacks in his favor, but his team and his prep have been so nice these last few weeks. And when we have these teams that are so close in overall and so close in their records and stuff like that and their play, I want to look to their prep and their play for my deciding factor of who's going to continue to move up, especially approaching the back half of the season. Now we want to start forming a playoff picture with these power rankings, and I think Crimson's in a very good spot. He's been doing a little bit better lately. Let me just start off. That Smeargle set was the most amazing thing I have ever seen in my entire life of playing League format. That set was amazing. Dusknoir was a very good Terrakion counter. Crimson is, I'll tell you this, I said this in the draft analysis that Crook was a weird Zmon, but he is getting his money's worth out of having it Zmon. He has brought it, Z-Crystalled so many times. Torn, very cool, but I'm not quite sure if Incinerate was necessary. I believe Hurricane could 2-hit KO the Scizor. Is that what he ran for?
Heat Wave? Hello?
Yeah, Heat Wave. I think he maybe wanted to burn the berry. I don't know exactly what he was thinking, but the Kyurem was fine, and the play, I think he actually played okay. I think he had a little bit of a bad team matchup with something like Terrakion on the other side, and he got his, I think the thing that cost him this game, he got his mind so set on a Scarfictini, that he played his end game maybe not how he should have without actually confirming it was Scarfed. I don't want to give Crimson like a gigantic amount of credit, obviously, because there was a lot of hacks. That's why I only moved him up one spot. But I did want to move him up because I like what I've been seeing from him lately.
Yeah, Crimson is the most up and down coach this season by far. It's crazy. But I'll stick with what we said at the very beginning. He's here to play. And oh boy, did he show us his knowledge this week. Recognizing that webs would put Dan in the ground and using his web setter itself to take care of Dan's most likely hazard removal was brilliant. I love the King Shield as well. I loved his use of Smeargle from Mind Games with the Scizor, predicting the fact that Dan wouldn't attack to allow him to knock out the Scizor with V-Create. He literally used his Smeargle as if it was an Aegislash. It was beautiful. But Crimson has to be a little bit careful. I really looked into his commentary in depth this week, and I really watched through his entire match at regular speed, actually, not even at 2x speed.
Oh, whoa, actually.
And yeah, and I noticed that he said some things that kind of set off some red flags for me. At first, it was in his head confirming that the Clefable which was unaware, which it was, but there was still no confirmation of that. We hadn't seen it come in on rocks. We hadn't seen what kind of damage it took from a boosted attack. So there were a couple of things there. And then I think he said that Terrakion is banded like 7 times and never confirmed whether or not it was banded, and just went off of that assumption and that the Victini was scarfed, whereas it was the exact opposite. Victini had the attack boosting item and Terrakion was the one that was scarfed, and had he not been careful, that Stone Edge connecting in the end of the game would have lost him the game. So you gotta just be a little bit more careful than that. You gotta expect that when you have webs and when you have a possibility of webs, and when you have such a fast team as well as with things like Tornadus, Cobalion and stuff, that your opponent's probably going to bring a Scarfer, and you have to identify what that Scarfer is, where it is on the team very quickly. Especially if you're bringing a strategy like webs, because then you fall prey to a surprise Scarfer in the end game, and that almost happens. So be a little more careful with that, Crimson, if you are listening. But yeah, that's all I got to say on him. We can move on to my number 7, your number 6 this week. Neither it hasn't moved for either one of us, actually. Stayed the same. And we have It's Gator. And with Gator, just like with Geo, I don't have too many notes on it, kind of because I really enjoyed the game and I just enjoyed watching it. I didn't want to have to ruin it by taking notes on the side, but I don't think Gator played a bad game. I think he started off a little bit strange, knowing that the Ditto couldn't touch the Heat Ran. After Geo went for a Flash Cannon, twice, I believe, is when he finally switched out his Heat Ran, but he should have known that Heat Ran was choiced at that point, and that he could very easily switch in a switch into Flash Cannon. So normally you don't bring Ditto unless it's Choice Scarf. Then the only reason to bring Ditto realistically is if your opponent has setup sweepers that really damage your team. So that's the one thing that I will critique. But everything else was played very well. Gator even caught Geo a little bit off guard with the most annoying set in the game, halfway through the game with the sub Leech Seed Encore Whimsicott.
No, that was fine. That was a good set.
Oh yeah, you Mr. Stall player, you gotta love that one. But yeah, no, I think Gator still played a very good match. It came down to a little prediction at the end with the Hawlucha. I don't think it would have ended up mattering if he would have predicted the Ditto to come in, unless he had Swords Dance, which again I didn't watch Gator's side, so he did. Okay, well there you go. But then again, it was still a speed tie with the Hawlucha in the end game. So either way, very well played from Gator. I appreciated the way that he played, which is why I'm not dropping him down. I'm keeping him at number 7, even though he lost to Geo, but Geo played a very good game, so it's very hard to move Gator.
Yeah, I have to agree with a lot of what you said. I did like Gator for the most part this week. He got stopped by Geo, but I didn't feel like this Geo that he played this week was the number 14 team in the league.
Yeah. When
I was watching through this game and seeing what Geo had brought, I felt like he was, when I was watching this game, I agree, I felt like it was one of the top teams in the league he was going up against watching it. But you gotta do some research in the GBA, because these coaches have styles. Geo has used Ditto the last few seasons, actually, and to bring a Specs Tran is fine. To bring a Specs Tran with no ground coverage is not. You can even go back to, I think it was a few seasons ago, Steve, Battler X. I don't know if it's Battler X back then. I think Steve still had control of the franchise. He brought HP ground on his Heatran so the Ditto couldn't touch him back. And that was some of the best prep I had seen in a long time. That was ingenious.
Especially from Steve.
Feel like, yeah, I mean, he has his moments with prep. You can't deny him that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think his prep was good. I think he just never really was able to read Geo this game, and he wasn't able to figure out his sets quick enough. And once he let the Pikamuku take the big hit, then the Arcanine was just going to tear through his team, and it ended up doing just that. So I think Gator is still in a good position. He said himself he's going to give it his all going forward, and that is going to be terrifying for whoever he plays, but we do have to pick it up the pace a little bit. So we're going to move on to number 5, John. I believe we both have John at number 5. And I didn't want to move him too much because, yes, he did lose to Lars, but again, we talked about with Lars, it wasn't really a win, you know? He wasn't super proud of it. The timer was a very, very big influence. John, I will say this. If you're going to be afraid of timer stalls, especially in games that you think you have the advantage, you gotta make your plays quicker. I mean, Lars said he was waiting on you the first half of the battle, and yes, then he did timer stall you at the end, but you're kind of timer stalling yourself in the middle. You still have to take time and think of the optimal play. But you do have to pick up the pace a little bit if you in this league, apparently. John's prep was good, except one thing. How did Tapu Bulu not come this game? He has no quad grass resist, and it is mostly a hyper-offensive team. And that's the perfect time to bring the Scarf Bulu, the best Bulu set in League format. And he didn't bring it. Now, I do think that his prep was solid for the most part. Uxie was weird. I don't think Fire Punch does a lot to a Magearna anyway, but he did bring a lot of cool things. His play was very, very good this week, and I will give John the same compliment I have given a lot of coaches this season. The fact that he saw the end game, set it up how he wanted. Unfortunately, just this time, he ran out of time. So, Aster, what do you got?
Yeah, oh man, John, I feel for you, buddy. It sucks that you had to make so many calcs in the end game to make sure that Infernape could sweep. and it went down to timer, that has to be the worst feeling ever, and I hope that I never have to feel that. You played so well. I just wish you hadn't gone to Milotic before Infernape in the end there and just picked up a necessary kill with Infernape, and then you could have actually won the timer stall war because Lucario wasn't beating Milotic with E-Speed. All I can say is you're still 5-3 with a decent differential. Keep playing the way you've been playing these last few weeks, and you'll make playoffs. It should be the only thing on your mind right now is just making playoffs. Forget the rest. And you still got a very good record, which is why you only moved down 1 spot for us. The reason we're moving you down 1 is because there's a coach who has been striving to get back up to the top 5, and I would even say top 4 all season, and I think he's finally done it. And that is George and the San Francisco Arcaniners. Great play from George, switching into a potential Ice Beam with his Garchomp, knowing that even if he did get predicted, that his Mew would just sweep, and that's what happens when your opponent doesn't bring their Dark type. Bulky Psychics like Mew, like Jirachi, even something like Uxie can just straight sweep teams because of their bulk. George is back, guys. He's here to play, and he has stolen the number 4 position from John this week. Very happy to have you back up here, Mr. MC.
Where was this George? We were talking a little bit earlier this season about how we didn't feel like George was here. George is finally here, I think, and that should bring a big worry for all coaches, specifically those in his conference. But George, you prepped solid this week. You knew exactly what you had to bring. I don't have too much to critique him on because he did what George does. He brought the right sets. The Entei was super cool. The Walcore was nice. The Mew set was brilliant, even though he had a Scrafty and a Key, and unless the Key has Toxic, it's not beating you 1v1. So that was a very, very good set in my opinion. I know Steve-O didn't really see it coming because he did have Scrafty, but he had a lot of things to deal with Scrafty and it gets worn down pretty easily. But George, your play was extremely good, and you know you're watching a George Pokemon video when his Garchomp gets predicted with Ice Beam and he's like, oh, awesome, I win. That's just hilarious to me. And it worked out. Scrafty didn't come, preserved his win con, won. GG, George for top 3. He's been commenting. I've seen you, George. I see you out there. You're almost there. You just got to take one of these other guys down. But speaking of those other guys, are you going to interrupt me this time or can I have my clean intro?
Go for it.
Alright, at number 3, we both have Chimpact. Chimpact back at number 3. I mean, it's pretty obvious placement. Even for you, I think everyone should be after what we saw from a certain number 2 this week. But we have our top 3 kind of set. MV Mono and Chimp have definitely solidified themselves from the rest of the pack, in my opinion. And he did play very, very interesting. He said he played bad. He didn't necessarily play bad. He just could have played better at points. I do agree Steve's prep did give him a bit of an advantage in the game. But I really did like a lot of what he did. I like that Kyurem versus Steve's team, who really doesn't have too many walls, so I thought it was smart. Dugtrio was a cool bring. HP Fire, that was a very cool bring for the Kartana. And why do you have to revive Lars's painful memories like that in your team builder, saying the Dugtrio's max speed just in case? Overall, all his mons were built very, very well. And, I mean, that's something Chimp's always been good at, is prepping. And if he can just turn his play around, because I'm not saying he's been playing bad, but I think Chimp would tell you he hasn't been playing his best this GBA season. I know he's not the biggest fan of his team, but he sure is using it okay in these matches. And Chimp, if you can get your play like 100%, he is going to be a threat, period.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people calling bullshit in the comment sections whenever we put Chimp in 3rd place. I just want you guys to know that Chimpact and Mono are very interchangeable. I would even put MV in that boat. Just because they're all such strong players. It doesn't matter if they're 3rd or 2nd. At the end of the day, they're probably all making playoffs. So it really, really doesn't matter, guys.
Not only does it not matter, sorry to interrupt, not only does it not matter, you could make an argument Chimp shouldn't have the record he does have at the moment, because he's had a few lucky breaks this season that have helped him, like the Dugtrio. I know that wasn't really a lucky break, but it's not something he necessarily predicted.
Yeah,
like and then Aqua Jet mid, or crit, or was something with an Azumarill, I remember.
Yeah, with the Lando, exactly.
Yes.
But, like, that said, he also lost to a timer stall at the beginning of the season, so it's so hard when it comes to players and where exactly to place them, because there are so many little details that go into it. And Chimpact played well, but he played well against Steve, and Steve doesn't have the best team, and his prep gave him even more of an advantage, as Jar said. I love the Toxic Spike. I love when he roost stalled with the Gligar. That was really good. Yeah, exactly. As opposed to yeah, anyway, we won't get into that, but No, Chimp played well, prepped very well. That's always the thing. His prep is always better than his play. And that's something that I would like to see adjusted. I would like to see them on par at some point. But regardless, Chimp still is always going to get our top 3. As long as he keeps this record, as long as he keeps going strong, he's going to be up here. And who knows, maybe Mono will lose another 2 games in a row, maybe even 3. Anything can happen, and Chimp would rise up to number 2. I know there are a lot of you that want to see Chimp at number 2 or number 1, and there are huge fans, but again, ultimately, it doesn't matter if they're first, second, or third, because they're all in the same boat. They're all the strongest players in the GBA. That's why we have our own personal slide for them, is because they're the best. So, moving on from Chimp, in at number 2, as we were saying, we do have Mono 2E. I don't have a lot of notes on Mono, but what I do have is the positioning, which I just talked about. The main reason that I put Mono above Chimp is because Mono's win was based on recognition that a set can do a lot of work to your opponent, and immediately executing it as soon as the opportunity arises. And Mono just did that perfectly. Like, you want to see that more from Draft League players. It's like, okay, do I sweep or do I not sweep? And people are so hesitant because they're always expecting something to be able to counter them. And Mono was just like, no, you know what? Let's go for it. Sub, Calm Mind, game over. And that is beautiful. That is a mark of a very competent player to me. Somebody that has their head on their shoulders, excuse me, and is always going to be able to come into a game level-headed enough to be able to make every best possible play. We've seen some falters from Mono, and that's going to happen with everybody. Nobody's perfect. We've seen some falters from Mono in the past against Dan, even against Chimpact himself. Overall, though, like, Mono is just so strong. Mono is ridiculously strong.
I would like to take this time to read comments from last week about us riding Mono's dick, and instead I will choose to respond with one word, maybe. But no, his prep was really, really good this week. I mean, you didn't get to see a lot of it in action. You didn't get to see a lot of both coaches' prep in action because he got the Ratchin on the Vaporeon. I mean, even if it was Scald, I guarantee you it didn't have a sub broken by a Vaporeon Scald, probably. Mono, I assume, invested enough for that. If he is smart, which I assume he is. And it did dismantle and set up on a lot of Tom's team. So it was a very smart bring. He got it in versus the Vape early, and from there, all he had to do, like you said, pull the trigger, quick victory, Mono 2E, solidifying himself at the number 2 slot for now. Keep it up, Mono. Oh yeah, and then in Pokemon too. Wink, wink, motherfuckers. But moving on to number 1 this week, and even when I said Envy's pretty interchangeable with these two, I kind of stand by that, because Envy has not really played a top battler yet. I think his highest win versus somebody on my rankings is Stevo, and I only had him up there, like I said, because of Cooper's draft, or not draft, but play for a little while. He had the benefit of starting 3-1. But Envy, he played tough this week, so I'm sure the Pick'em crew was heavily divided over this one, but he was able to pull out the win. Solid prep, solid play. I mean, I don't know what to say about this game too much. He has, John, that's his best win in his RPRs so far. And I think John was still getting used to his team back then, so either way, Envy's doing fine. He prepped extremely well, as he always does, seem to do. Big shocker. The Dragonite was a very straightforward DD Sky MZ set, or Flying MZ set. It was very cool. Are you enjoying that crest, Envy? It's a nice Pokemon, right? It's a good wall to have. Very original Alolan Muck set. Oops, I mean completely unoriginal since he's brought it every week. Words, tough. Virizion was smart and led us back to being all reliable Scarfer. Not much to say, I gave Envy a lot of shit there, but he is my number 1. He is playing and prepping amazingly. I have no doubt he is going to continue to win with this team because he is GG, it's Envy.
Actually, let's be real here for a second, because Envy did not have it as easy as most would think this week. He played solidly, as he always does, but had those rocks ever stayed up, or if that Hydreigon had stayed alive, Envy would have been in a tough spot. This is one of those games where Envy didn't really have to make any plays because he was never in a position to lose a lot of momentum. What we can say though, this man is on a tear, and I said it 2 weeks ago. If this continues, Envy will go 11-1 and finish first this season. He still has John to get through, and now John is definitely on his game again. And that's like, out of his remaining matches, that's the biggest obstacle I see, is going to be John. But just coming back to the match this week really quickly against Tup, I think Tup probably gave him a run for his money, a lot more than a lot of other coaches did this season. And I was impressed, I gotta say. I didn't mention it when we talked about Tup, but I was impressed because Envy is a very, very good player, and some might argue that he probably didn't have the best team matchup, but
it's just gonna come with his team. I'm sorry, I'm saying it. It's just gonna come with his team, man.
Yeah, no, exactly.
He took Pelipper in round 2.
Yeah, but especially against Tup, like there were a lot of huge threats to Envy's team, and he still pulled out a win. So what can we say? This man is just incredible. He's still got good grades.
He is. He's got those good grades.
I think this is the thing though. Like you gotta when you see power rankings analysts, guys, even if it's not us next season, when you see a team ranked very low that you think is very, very good in that player's hands, at the beginning of the season when we're just doing analysis on post-draft, you have to understand that we're just ranking the teams based on our knowledge of draft league format and what we know works and what we know doesn't. But Envy has made the team that he has, even though he drafted Pelipper round 2 and made a bunch of picks that don't seem like they mesh well together, he has made it work for him. And that is the mark of an amazing player and a great draft league format player as well, because only amazing players will be able to take a team that might not look good on the surface and make it amazing. So kudos to Envy for that. I do want to close off on that. I think that's about it.
Or if you disagree with us, just write a dick joke in the comment section below, and all your problems will be solved.
Yeah. All right, so I'm actually gonna let you close us out.
All right then. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to our Power Rankings for Week 8. Make sure you tune in next week, and make sure you check out all the other great content on the GBA channel. And Aster, take us out. I'm horrible at it.
Don't worry about it.
Help.
Also, make sure to leave a like down below. I think Jar already said to make sure to check out all the coaches in the description down below as well. Subscribe to the GBA channel if you have not done so already, and we will catch you guys later. Ciao.
Bye.